What's going on, everyone? It is time for our Beer With segment, and I'm so excited because today's Beer With segment is unique in a couple of different ways. As you all know, this is a radio show, and we've loved doing the radio portion of this. But every time we do our interviews off site, outside of the station, there's always these wonderful visuals. Sometimes we do it at the brewery, on a deck, on a patio, in the brew house. And so now we are really excited to announce today for the first time that from this point moving forward, our Beer With interviews are also going to be on Knox On Tap's YouTube channel. That's right.
Woo-hoo!
We are now video recording all of our Beer With segments so that you can watch them at a later date. We'll be posting them every night after the show on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel. Another benefit of recording these ahead of time is that we get to enjoy some local beer as well because we are outside of the studio.
Yes.
And today is no different as we are practicing social distance. I'm set up right now at my house. Mama calls me Kevin is at his house.
Hello.
And we are basically interviewing each other today via Skype. But today, our Beer With segment, since we in the midst of the social distance era, and since we're launching the podcast this week and the YouTube channel this week, along with the radio show, we thought it might be nice to go backwards a little bit, and for our Beer With segment, take a minute to interview each other. So I'm really excited to give you guys a little bit of more information about us, the co-hosts. And so today, without further ado, officially, our Beer With segment today is Beer With Mama Calls Me Kevin.
Hi.
So, dude, I'm excited about asking you some questions about you and who you are and sharing a little bit more of your story with our listeners because we've not really dove into that yet.
No, I guess we haven't, but now seems as good a time as any to jump right in there and do that.
You know, we obviously could have reached out to a few different people in the industry, but we thought now in the midst of the safer at home that maybe we'd start off, work out the kinks a little bit, and interview each other. And I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit more.
Well, great.
So it is Beer With, so we have to start off with the beer. Both Kevin and I decided for this week that we wanted to feature the Alliance Brewing Company IPA. We each went to Alliance and purchased our crowlers ahead of time and picked them up curbside. Mm-hmm. I've got my crowler with me right here, so you can see this beautiful label here for those of you watching on the YouTube channel. And this Alliance IPA is a killer beer. Let's see if we can get the sound of this being poured right here. Let's. Oh, yeah. I love that. You've had this beer many times, I know, before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a nice, more West Coast style, little piney, little citrusy, very hoppy. The bitterness is very present, and it's super delicious. And I love sitting down with you. Even though we're miles away, it feels like we're kind of in the same room.
Yeah, I mean, miles apart, but so close at heart.
Yeah, we're drinking the same beer,
Yeah.
hanging out. So cheers.
Cheers.
Tink, tink. I guess
Tink.
that's the sound we have to make now. For
I just clinked mine on the microphone.
All right, so I've got two questions that I want to kick this off with, and
Okay.
and I think these are some really basic softball questions, but I want to know this about you. I want to know when you go back in your mind, when was the first substantial experience that you had with craft beer, and when was your first substantial experience that you had in radio? For those of you who don't know, my background is in beer. Mama Calls Me Kevin's background is in radio. That's why we paired up on this show. So I want to know when was the moment in time that you did something in media or in communications where you were like, this is it. This is the path I'm going to go for a little while. And similarly, what was that moment for you like with craft beer?
Wow. Well, my first radio experience moment that really kind of kicked things off for me. My mic's a little hot here. I was still in high school, and a buddy of mine who was a few years older than me, named Joseph Howard.
We'll leave out the year.
I'm not really sure of the year. It's probably around 89, to be honest. But a buddy of mine, Jody Howard, was already a student at UT, and he was at the college radio station, WUTK 90.3.
The station that we're on right now.
Back then it was called New Rock 90. But so he was telling me about this cool radio thing he was doing, and he encouraged me to come be a part of it. So I did, and completely got hooked on it and did college radio throughout my last 2 years of high school, and then through college until I got into radio professionally.
What was it that sort of drew you into it? What kind of captured your? Was it just sort of the creative outlet? Was it?
It was. I've always been a big talker, so I'm sure that played a part in it. But more than anything, it was the new music. I am addicted to new music, and I love to share that information with other people, and I like to get new music out there to folks, and that's kind of always been a thing for me. So, so really more than anything, it was about delivering new music to the people.
So you went to UT, went in, did the radio station thing while your whole time there. What was after college?
Keep in mind, college took me 25 years. So I was pretty well cemented in the radio industry by the time I finished my degree. But no, I was actually, I think, a second year student. I wouldn't quite call it a sophomore when I got my first paying radio job at U102 with the right mix of continuous light rock and good time oldies. And so I went to work for them, and from there I jumped station to station.
You've probably said those things so many times that they're just like, there's just like a button in your mind you push, and every radio station that you've ever worked at is probably like, you just can say it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So what was the first time that you experienced craft beer in a way that you were like, this is going to be a part of my life from now on? Like, this is it.
You know, it really has to go back to local craft beer. For me, it was New Knox Brewing Company. I had to get me some Nuka Buka, and
pre-Sawworks.
And their IPA was amazing. It was one of my favorites, and I'll never forget. I was living in Nashville for a little while, back around the turn of the millennium, as it were, and I was really excited to go to the Kroger in Bellevue, Tennessee, in the suburbs of Nashville. And in the beer aisle, I found New Knox Brewing Company's IPA sitting right there on the shelf. And I was so excited to have my favorite, local beer from Knoxville on a grocery shelf in Nashville.
This was about 2000?
This was about 99, 2000, somewhere in there. I lived in Nashville from 98 to about halfway through 2000. So somewhere in there.
So did you discover that beer before you moved to Nashville?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was a favorite when I was living in Knoxville, but when I moved to Nashville, I missed it. And they had a lot of great beer in Nashville, but I missed my Knoxville beer. And when I found it on the shelf at Kroger, I was very excited.
Oh, I bet. So your first love for craft beer started with New Knoxville. It really took off from there. Radio started for you young, high school, and into college on this same station that we're on right now, which is really cool. Throughout your career in radio and throughout your love of craft beer, what have been some moments where those two worlds have collided for you in the past 10 years that have really stuck out as a memorable sort of a moment in time where you're just kind of like pinch yourself, I can't believe this is so cool, something you'll remember forever?
Honestly, that had to be when you came into the picture, because when I was doing afternoons on 94Z, I had the opportunity to get with you and do my afternoon show live from your brew bus.
Yes, I had the headset on. I had a headset on with a microphone like Madonna or Justin Timberlake, but no, more like an airplane pilot. And I was driving the brew bus, and you were in the back.
Yep.
And we had this antenna that we had a magnet on it that we stuck to the top of the bus.
Yep. And we were sending the signal back to the studio, and we did live radio from a moving bus on a brew tour.
I felt like, what's that guy? Pete Michaels. Or Ed Rupp or whoever does like the traffic and weather, updates. It was a lot of fun. And the show definitely went long that day.
Yeah.
I remember that for sure. We might need to do that again, honestly.
I've got an abundance of free time right now.
And so. we went to several breweries, and the brewer came out and shared beer with us, and we interviewed them. Mm-hmm. And we also, I remember, Facebook Lived that as well, which was before Facebook Live was cool, because now it's like, everybody's into it now, of course, because it's one of the only ways we can really interact with each other.
Yeah, and I really hate that I think we did that on the Facebook Live, the Facebook page of the radio station, and that I was so crushed when that station went away because along with it went all the social media pages, all the photographs, all the videos, including that one.
Well, now we just have to do a reenactment.
A dramatization.
a dramatization, a reenactment, yeah. Well, what do you feel like, how do you feel like, from your perspective, the Knoxville beer community has changed, and also radio is sort of has a community as well in Knoxville?
Well, one's going up and one's going down. No, the craft beer community here in the Knoxville area is continuing to grow, and honestly, I've met some of my favorite people on the planet as part of that community. And again, thanks to you for a lot of those introductions, because through my the stuff that we did with Knox Brew Tours, that led to relationships being developed with some of the local breweries, and then we did some stuff with them, and I really loved the friendships and the overall community spirit within the brewing community. And we talk about it a lot. It almost sounds cliche, but it's not. I mean, there's a lot of loving, caring people out there that really have each other's back and support each other, and it's, in my opinion, what community is all about. So I love seeing that, and I love being a part of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're a part of it, man. And I love that we kind of connected on this radio show, and that we're doing something fun, and that feels like it's making a difference, and something creative and informative and entertaining. And I feel like I found the perfect co-host, man. And, I'm the beer guy, you're the radio guy, but I love radio and you love beer.
Yeah.
I've never gotten paid to do radio. You've never gotten paid to do beer.
That's true.
So, we still have that fun. For me, the radio part's fun. For you, the beer part's fun.
Yeah.
It's, I think, been a great team, and I appreciate it. I'm excited about the future of Knox On Tap with the podcast coming out, which is just going to be a recap of the radio show with potentially extra information that maybe isn't suitable for air, or it goes longer than air, and
or
maybe
both.
some special, or maybe both, and a few Q&As. I'm excited about this YouTube channel. It's just one more way for people to learn more about the Knoxville beer community, as we physically can show them through the magic of video some of these spaces that we're doing these interviews in the future. And I just want to say thanks, man, for being a part of this and for committing your time to it. And I'm loving having you. And I like to sit back and interview you for a minute and get to know your story a little bit more.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And I've enjoyed doing the show and all the other projects we've worked on. You and I both have a lot of crazy ideas, and we've always had that in common.
Yeah.
So anytime we get a chance to collaborate, just like a lot of the great collaborations within the beer community, great things happen.
Yeah, anytime we get to actually act on some of those great ideas, it's a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is the end of our Beer With segment. This is Zach with Mama Calls Me Kevin interviewing Zach interviewing Mama Calls Me Kevin, and now we're going to pass it back off into the studio where we'll be joined by Zach and Mama Calls Me Kevin. All right.
Back to you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.